Hello and welcome to Collateral Damage. Tonight is a little bit of a special video. We are going to go over the new changelog document that dropped last week. We're going to give everybody our hot takes, our wish lists, and try to be somewhat factual. My name is Anthony. I'm joined today by Mike, Corey, and two men named Shawn. Say hello, everybody.
Hi.
Salutations, comrades.
So we've got a lot to cover, and we can't possibly cover every single change in the changelog. We'd be here all night. So we're going to try to just hit some highlights. I wanted to go ahead and just go over a few global changes that happened in the document, just to get those out of the way. First of all, this should be no surprise to anybody at this point, but the spell rack is now no more. There are bespoke spell lists for all of the prime casters now. Spells have been changed around, moved around, new spells created, so make sure to review the casters that you're interested in to see what they're going to be rocking and rolling with moving forward. The second global change that we probably want to address, at least specifically model by model, is that in general, mats and rats are down a point. This means a bunch of things for the meta in general, but I think the big takeaway there is that defense is going to matter quite a bit more than it did previously. Sprays have been shortened. Mostly this is just 12s and 10-inch sprays. Have been shortened a couple of inches each. 8 and 6-inch sprays, I think, for the most part, have stayed the same. There's been a global change to Vengeance. The way Vengeance works now is that you do all of your moves for your unit with Vengeance before you do any attacks. I think that's probably functions better than treating all of the models individually like solos during the Vengeance move. I think it's a little more cohesive with how movement works in general. But I've not really sat down to think about how that bears out in all circumstances. But I think it's a good change from a flow of play and being consistent with how movement works in general. There's been a global change to the spell Windstorm and all of the Windstorm style effects. The range on that has been reduced to affecting friendly models within 3 inches now. I think previously that was 8. Is that right? Yeah. So quite a bit of a shrinkage of the coverage on a windstorm. A new rule has been instituted called inconsequential. This is a rule that goes on to models that either are put into play by other models. Think about the servitors for like the Prime Axiom and Convergence of Cirrus, or cheap little immobile models like the Fire Totems in Brinebloods. Previously, you could put those models onto objectives and they could score, but no longer. The inconsequential rule says that they cannot score, they cannot contest, they just exist. So just to give you a heads up before we get into the factions themselves, we're not going to be covering every faction. We're going to cover all the prime factions that we can. We've got either experts have given us some notes, or we ourselves play the factions that we're going to cover. We'll try to hit everything just a little bit. We're going to leave most of the legacy factions off of this, not just because we don't have anybody that's playing those, but just because it would just take too long. So anybody have anything to add before we hop into the factions?
There's definitely one thing I want to add. Another big change is most of the things that had gang switched to gang fighter, which is or they just lost it altogether and got +2 strength, or gang fighter, which is only a buff to your damage rolls. With them dropping all the mats down, I'm sure adding +2 mat back to everything would not help at all. So
I'll just go ahead and hop right in, because the first one on the list that we're going to provide some coverage for is actually the faction, and I'm looking to main for the 2026 Steamroller season, which is Crucible Guard.
Let's go Crucible Guard.
like they said in the accompanying blog post with the changelog, a lot of Crucible Guard was already tooled to be in line with the changes that were put out. They didn't have spell rec before, so there was no need to make any adjustments there. I'd say the biggest change was that we were given the chemical warfare rule when the army was brought back out, and they've made a change to it sort of prior to the document. I think it's a good change. I would have liked to have seen it in action to see if it was really as bad as we thought it would be, but what's been removed is the continuous effect. So fire and corrosion still do double damage if you're in a Crucible Guard Warcaster's control area. So it kind of works the same way that decapitation does in the game. So if I roll 3 points of damage with fire on your model, you'll take 6. If your corrosion goes off, you'll take 2. But instead of the previous way that was worded is that also they could not expire naturally. You'd have to, instead of being able to roll a 1 or 2 to make that go away, you'd have to expend a card, put the fires out, or use an ability like Jumpstart or something like that to get rid of those effects. You wouldn't be able to do it naturally. But they took that portion of it away, which is probably healthy for the long term. I think the big thing that changes for Crucible Guard is I'll say this. I'm not interested in making a build where you try to apply as many continuous effects as possible to their caster and just try to win the game as fast as possible.
Slot machine effects are not good.
Yeah. I was absolutely looking at that as a viable strategy previously.
Well, you did it to me in one of our test games.
Yeah. It is a lot easier to catch something on fire with an attack than you may think, and a lot of casters are armored potatoes, so it can be pretty rough. So I would have liked to have had a minute with it, but it's probably honestly for the best that they changed it. It's still punishing. I mean, it's still you can only get it out naturally on a 1 or 2, so I think it's still going to be a contributing factor to Crucible Guard's strength, but I don't think it's going to be the primary win condition. It's just going to be a nice thing to have in your toolbox. The second thing that I'll talk about is that sort of in Mark III, when Crucible Guard came out, and all the way up through now, the model Prospero, who is a junior warcaster for Crucible Guard, was almost universally taken in every list, and usually paired with a Vulcan. The reason he was so good is because he had guided fire as a upkeep spell, which just makes shooting really good. But he also had veteran leader faction warjacks, so he made all the Crucible Guard warjacks, which at the time were 6s across the board, mats and rats, made them all 7s. And with access to things in the faction like Shadowbind and Ice Cage on a lot of different models, Crucible Guard just did not have problems hitting stuff. So they stripped away veteran leader from Prospero, and I'll be honest, he is now probably... I don't have a list that I've been working on that takes him. I don't think that he's necessarily terrible. I think it's really valuable to have a separate source of focus that can power up a jack or 2, but he's not going to be everywhere. And I think that, again, just like the other change, I think that's healthy for the game overall. It encourages list diversity. It keeps things from being so cookie cutter, especially in a faction that doesn't have... Crucible Guard does have a pretty deep roster, but maybe not as deep as some of the old main factions. So having more diversity is a good thing. A lot of the other changes to Crucible Guard are just small things. The attachment on the Crucible Guard infantry lost inspiration, so did most attachments. It went down a point because of that. Sprays went down on quite a few things. Cost went up on the suppressor by 1 point, which is honestly fine. It was probably undercosted at 11 for all of the things that it could do. But in general, I think those are the main 2 changes. Prospero not being a fixture of every list, and then the change to chemical warfare, which doesn't really feel like they took anything away from us because we really didn't have it that long to start with. So I will talk a little bit. Like I said, I am going to be trying to play Crucible Guard this year. Always a big fan of their aesthetic, big fan of their play style. I have range DPS like hardwired into me. So the hot takes that I have for the faction, I think they're honestly a very fair faction. They have a very defined role. I think they do have some melee, but they're overwhelmingly debuff you and try to shoot you. So I think they're fair in that regard. They have a definite weakness. They do not want to be fought in melee. They don't shift very well to control and surprises other than just having superior range and superior firepower. I think they'll do very well. I think all of their casters are viable. I think a few of them step on each other's toes a little bit, so it's just a matter of what you want in your pairing is who is your personal preference. But I think they're solid. I don't think they have any. I think they have very few units that wouldn't be able to find a home with one of the casters in a build, and they feel interesting. They're not like they don't seem like anything else. The continuous effects and range debuff is a niche that we don't really have in the game right now. So I think they'll do just fine. I don't think that they're going to be S tier, but I think they're probably somewhere in the high B to low A tier. I think, and I'm excited to play them.
What do you think are going to be the standout units that you think are exceptional? What do you think are the units that every list is going to be taking Crucible Guard because they're too good to ignore?
Well, the way that they've changed mechanics, I think you're going to have mechanics in every list. They're 1 point in power solo that has repair and can give a warjack the ability to get Pathfinder. So you'll see probably at least 2 mechanics. They're FA4, so you could see as many as 4. Even if you're only taking like 1 Vulcan as your single jack in the list, power up plus 2 mechanics fills that without your caster need to. Plus, he can repair the Rayless Interceptors, which are really good and are going to be taken quite a bit because it's also a construct. So I think the mechanics you'll see all the time. I think the Assault Troopers, the 40mm guys with the hammers, they're very, very self-sufficient. They're 11-16 stat line, but they have Ashen Veil all the time. So they'll effectively be 13 to living models that aren't either immune to clouds or fire. I forget which one, and they have Carapace, so they'll be armed 20 versus range attacks. So they don't really need a lot of help from their warcasters or their feats, although they love those things. They're just really self-sufficient. I think they'll be hard to shift off points. I think they'll be good pieces for scenario. Plus, they can absolutely crank some damage. They've got range 2, POW 15 Warhammers that have brutal damage. So they'll be 17 on the charge. There's a lot of damage amps in Crucible Guard, whether that be a debuff to the model with something like Disintegration or Rust or Withering Humor, or a boost in damage like Sylvester has in Sight, which is just a +2 flat damage. So if you stack all that stuff up, I mean, that's 3. They only have 1 attack apiece, which is a little bit of a downfall, but 3 big charges can probably take out a heavy jack if you roll well.
If they box, they set everything around them on fire too, right?
Yeah, they have. I don't remember the rules specifically, but it's. I think it's what Thagros used to have when he kills something. It's like burning ash or something.
Yeah, it's plain. Everything within 1 of the box model suffers fire continuous, which is definitely not bad in a double damage fire world.
Yeah, if you have to send them into infantry, you're only going to be able to kill 3 things. But if everything else is on fire and they can't kill you back, then you can clear out some chaff with them for sure. But they definitely, I think, will excel in holding points and hitting some hard targets. I think if I had a third unit that I'd say that you'd probably see quite a bit, it's actually, I mean, the Rayless is really good. He has 4 ranged attacks just on its own. He has a knockdown. He has ram. So it's also a cavalry model, so it gets boosted charge rolls and damage rolls on a charge. I think it's a POW 15 melee attack with ram, which knocks down, pushes you an inch, and then he can follow up an inch. It's got bulldoze like most 120s do. It has Pathfinder. it's 12 points for 30 boxes with a ton of firepower, and it can scrap a little bit. So I think you'll see Railless quite a bit. Plus, it's an awesome
Not realize
model.
that thing had cav. Good lord.
I mean, it's a you can't see it because of my blurred background, but it's a train with guns on it, man.
I think it's sick, dude.
So yeah, and I think they work well with almost all of the casters. Have either a way to, increase its damage, increase its accuracy, or increase its mobility. And it's speed 6. So
with all your casters being like focus 6, I think you have like 2 that are 7. The Lock and
well, so Locke and Silvestro are 7. Lucas is the sky's the limit.
Yeah, he's something. But
McKay, Gerhardt, and Bennett are 6.
You think taking that journeyman is a good way to offset having only 6 casters, or do you think just to make the mechanics just better overall?
Well, I think the mechanics help a lot. I think also you have access to a caster attachment in Alice, who has Harmonious Exaltation. It's not as cool. Well, I mean, it depends. I like Arcane Assist and Spell Slave on Madam M when I was playing my Brinebloods quite a bit, but being able to reduce the casting cost of a spell by 1 isn't nothing rather. And she also has Empower herself, so even if you don't have a target for Harmonious Exaltation on a turn, she can at least throw a focus on a jack. So I don't think Prospero is never going to get taken. I don't know that anybody who wants to run super jack heavy like Locke, she's got Resourceful and she's got 7 focus anyways. And with mechanics, I don't know that she needs the help necessarily to shoulder the burden as much. I think if you're going to take Prospero, you're going to probably want to take him for his 2 spells. So Guided Fire is great. So if you want to put it on something like a Vindicator, which has a really good gun, just a single shot gun, that's pretty good. You could put it on a suppressor to boost the both the sprays that it has. If you're feeling like you can protect Prospero, you can put him on a Vulcan, and the Vulcan has it's 3 shots and reload 1 on the rocket, so it could be a total of 4. So that's pretty good value. The other spell he has, Instability Equation, can add focus to a jack, but it gives the old Berserker rule from Khador. If you spin those focus, you have to roll a die at the end of the turn. If you roll lower than the amount of focus that you spent off of Instability Equation, the jack just blows up. So a little risk and reward there. But
oh my god, I forgot about that rule.
Yeah. I mean, if it wins you the game, it wins you the game. But I don't know that you're building around that. That's like one of those. It's a Hail Mary type of ability, I think. But there could be a build where you just take a cheap Toro. They're 10 points, run it in there full of focus, and then blow it up.
Yeah. When are we gonna see you pilot that 5 120 mil base list that you've been talking about, Anthony?
Well, I think a lot of that depends on how quickly I can get the stuff 3D printed when the core box comes out, because I have all 5 of the 120s right now. I teased playing McKay with 2 Railless and 2 Vulcans just because there's not a lot of stuff that's available right now, and I think that's 80 points on the nose exactly.
I would love to see that list. Just call it Thomas and Friends.
I think my list for that. I love trains.
I love it.
But yeah, that may hit the table soon. I'm a little more interested personally in a couple other casters, but if I need a little break from grinding games and just need something fun and lighthearted, then I may do that.
A volunteer as tribute.
All right. Well, moving on alphabetically, next is Cryx.
Well, we know that's why everybody's here, is for the best faction in the world anyway. Yeah!
I'm representing Cryx today with my Scar shirt. So.
See, even you know Cryx is the best thing since sliced bread.
It's the Tixasar.
Hopefully that's the next faction.
Well, we'll see. Tell us about Cryx, Mike.
All right, so Cryx. Cryx is pretty interesting. I thought they were going to get harder than they did. They kind of universally they dropped Matt across the board, like everybody, like we talked about at the beginning. Kind of some of the big things are the criterions that everyone was running. They were just honestly they were just too good not to run. Hyper generation and battle driven are just too good of abilities, and having grievous wounds on crit is just amazing. And they were mat 7, and you could boost that up pretty easily. So they were just overall really good. Just kind of run out there and just they could block, they could attack, they could do it all. But they have went up in points, and they have dropped in mat, of course. But they kept the rest of their abilities. Going to 9 cost kind of makes them kind of a weird spot in the list. So I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out eventually. On the other hand of that, Brute Thralls have come down a point to 7, which makes them more viable to take. I could kind of see you taking maybe a unit of each because they have different things now. You take the criterions for just the base defensive part of it, and then take the Brute Thralls to kind of rush in there and do some more damage. So I'm kind of excited to put those back on the field. They also dropped a mat, which, like we said, kind of universally across the board. One of the big changes is I know this is also going to hit later on, probably when we touch on if we touch on Dio or not, is Exelon Kythos. His feet got hit pretty good. And as someone who played him a bunch in the beginning when he came out, I think it's kind of deserved. -3 to attacks on a 16-inch control area, and just being able to place within 2 inches of somebody it's not advanced, you're literally just placing. So you could place yourself out of combat and then just kind of move off the field, which I did numerous times. They changed his feat to enemy models suffer -2 now against non-incorporeal models, so that didn't change. And then friendly non-incorporeal models and his control range gained a mass dilution for 1 round. Gain dodge for 1 round. So they got rid of the place effect, and they just have dodge. So if you miss them, you just advance immediately 2 inches. So that means you can block those instead of just kind of popping on the other side. Overall, I kind of feel like that feat's more fair. Is a lot fairer. It just makes it's kind of more balanced. It was kind of a little overtuned before, and most things in the changes I've noticed that have like a bunch of +3 buffs have gone down to 2. Because it was just a little too much, and a lot of times those casters got picked for other ones. He, of course, just gained the same spells that he has in Dio, Dark Ops. So he gains Psychic Assault, Scything Touch, and Occult Whispers, and Scything Touch is just a good spell all around. And they did cut his leadership for friendly living, so that was one big thing. We'll touch on the character jacks for a second too, because Grendel is probably going to be one of our better jacks, and kind of my hot take, he's going to be really, really good to take because he did not go up in points. He only dropped to mat 7, so he still hits really well, and he has great attacks. He has the Vice Grip. He has 2 POW 18 attacks. He's just overall gotten better, especially with other things dropping to 6. Hades, the second one, he did drop to 6 instead of 7. I'm a little confused about that one because I thought, when I think character jack, I think they're better and they hit a little bit more. So I thought the character jacks would stay at 7 because they were 8 before, which was way too high. I 100% agree with that. But they're dropping him down to 6, and his soul cannon, that is kind of his big gun he shoots, is gaining Devour Souls, which is really nice because before he could only grab souls within 10, but now he's got a 14-inch range basically that can shoot, and then just whatever he kills with the AoE blast, he can gather those souls because he does enjoy his souls because he can make himself go incorporeal. Another big one is the Hellraker. That one has a pretty interesting change, just like we talked about in the beginning. His spray dropped down. He's rat 4 now instead of 5. He kept the same mat because he was already mat 6. The net launcher, though, is no longer skewer. It is a drag. So you only have to hit. Before I had to save up enough focus to hit and then hurt you before to pull you in. Now I just have to hit you. Pretty great. He also increased his power of his weapons from 19 to 20, which makes me very happy. And Shawn's going to love that, so I'm going to come at you with Deathjack and Hellraker next time we play, and it's going to be amazing.
Heck yeah.
The Malefactor is one that everybody complained about. Everybody hated the Malefactor. 12-point Malefactors with sword or the axe and board were just running around like crazy, doing a lot of things. What they did to kind of fix him is they increased the points of the shield from 4 to 5, and the cheapest head we have now is a 2-point head, so they're base 14 points instead of base 12. When they changed the points on the head, though, they changed the soul claiming head to a accuracy head, which gives you +1 rat. So it makes their shooting options a little more viable, which is kind of nice. When they originally did that, I was kind of upset because I like to run Decethus. Decethus is one of my favorite casters in Cryx. I like to run him a lot, and it was always so cool to run that guy off the board, kill a bunch of stuff within 4 inches of him, and suck all the souls to Decethus and have a gajillion armor. Well, he's the only caster that takes advantage of it. No one else does. He's one caster out of all the casters we have, so Soul Claiming Head was actually kind of useless, to be honest with you. So that kind of makes it more thematic, I think, having the accuracy head on there.
On the subject of Decethus, how do you feel about his changes?
I absolutely love Decethus. I got to play him the playtest, and they've changed him some since then, which is even better. He kept the 2 spells I always take with him. He is going to keep Ghost Walk and Death Ward. I like Death Ward because I like to throw it on a jack. It survives a lot longer, especially the put on the Hellraker. I'm able to kind of choose where the boxes go, so I can keep my systems in a lot longer. That's really nice. He also gained knowledge of the dead, or the damned. That ability is the same ability as his old feat, where he can force rerolls within his control area, but he just has it all the time now. He can spend souls to do that all the time. Insane. And he gained the Lost Souls ability, and what that is basically if there's no one in your control area that can give you souls, you gain, I think it's D3 plus 1 souls a turn. So you actually can do something. So if you're fighting against, I don't know, like Seth's Chimera or some Dusk players that are playing soulless things, you can't play that your favorite caster against those people because they wouldn't give you any souls. You always have a chance to get some souls and do something. The quickest way to stop that, and this is what I learned in the playtest, is that the quickest way to stop that was just to take a solo and run into his control area. And it turns it off. Basically, I got it like 1 turn, and then I was able to go in and start grabbing souls. But again, if there's nothing that gives souls in the area, it kind of helps you stay alive. His new feat overall is a little bit the same as it used to be. He gets 5 souls for popping his feat, and he also gives every Warjack in his battle group, or his control area, overtake. Which is really cool, because Malefactors have a Berserk Head. So, Berserk Head plus overtake equal walking through some people's troops. I'm real excited about that, because they are still, Malefactors are still Mat 6, which is nothing to sneeze at. Especially with the everybody's new drop. So, pretty excited about that. Going back to the Malefactor for a sec, they changed some of their guns to give some like extra abilities that kind of make more sense with them. Like they can do brain damage now with one of their guns and choking ash with the other instead of critical weakness. Because I think they kind of changed that to kind of go along with the defense buff there. Everybody know we didn't get any casters that kept Carnage, and I'm not surprised about that. I didn't think we'd get one, to be honest with you. There was a lot of complaints about Cryx with Carnage because they already had a lot of hit fixing. So I was not expecting that to happen, so I tried to play with it the last couple weeks the most I could to get the best use out of it. One caster I really want to touch on that I'm real excited about is Nakain. Nicane, I've been playing Nicane in a fun list. What do you guys think? Like last month? Just kind of messing around with her, and it's been a lot of fun. Her stocks have gone up, and the new her attack, her arcane attack goes up to 7, so she hits better because she is a spell slinging caster. That's her thing. She gains Venom, Crippling Grasp, and a new spell called Crimson Veil, which is a 2-cost range 6 upkeep spell. Basically, long story short, if that model that Crimson Veil is on kills a model, it turns incorporeal, which works with her Wraithborn ability that gives you +3 armor. So go in, just kill a random little dude, and then boom, I'm incorporeal. Oh, look, I'm +3 armor if I'm close enough to Nicane. Awesome. Pretty cool. And it's so nice. It's so nice to have Crippling Grasp back finally. The Cryx spell that everybody thinks about, I finally have it back. After all of this time.
Sir, that's Texas's spell.
Shut up.
I've been fine if they left that off.
Surprisingly, a lot of things in the Cryx dropped corrosion type, which really confused me. I don't know if it was just too much of it out there or what, but there was like 4 or 5 entries that just lost corrosion type. Which I always like to throw corrosion out there and do some things. Mechanothralls are one of the big things everybody talks about, and we kind of touched on that at the beginning. They no longer have Gang. Their weapons go into POW 12, but they do have Vengeance. If you take Sepsera, they gain Gang Fighter, which is, just the +2 damage. So you still have some issues hitting, but Sepsera also has a new spell, the second new spell that was created in Cryx, that you pick a model, and that if enemy models within 2 inches of it, they're -2 defense. So it's kind of like Carnage Light, but it only works for one model and stuff within 2 inches. So I can kind of see it throwing on a jack and running up there and then being like, hey, I'm here. Or honestly, a chicken bomb is kind of what I was thinking about doing with it, throwing it on a chicken, running the chicken 12 inches, and being in their way. And basically, hey, look, now you're -2 defense. I can hit you for once. Those are kind of the big things that stuck out to me. Necro Harvesters, we all know that they talked about that earlier. The little bombs have inconsequential. They're going to PAL 15, and they have resistant corrosion. Because the reason why that's a good thing is for the last month, I've been playing them, and every time I make a bomb, I blow myself up. Isn't that right, Newsom?
Yes, that has been my favorite thing. I'm glad that they got a glow up, because watching you forcibly blowing your own stuff up to get, what was it? It was to get souls, wasn't it? Because I had soulless stuff.
Yeah.
And then you just blew them all up. You're like, well, got my souls, or I got this.
I got my corpses.
Yeah, corpses. That's it. It was hilarious.
It was real good. And then I create the bombs, and they always blew up on 6, which hurt my Necro Harvester. I think I did like 6 points of damage to myself the first time I played him, and I was like, yeah, this isn't cool. That's kind of the big ones. I think Cryx are going to be fine. I know some people are real doom and gloom on them. I think they're going to be just fine. Morton Eber's also looking great. She gains some really good spells. Jumpstart's always good. And Hellrot, Hellrot gives +2 armor and retaliation. Words are hard today. To a jack, that's nothing to sneeze at. And she still has synergy. And synergy is, as Corey says, a hell of a drug.
Yeah. Turns out that +3 on most of your army is good.
Who would have thought? That's kind of my big take on it. I think they're going to be just fine. I don't think they're going to be as oppressive as they were with some of the hit fixing. I think the Malefactor's still fine for 14 points, but I think at 14 points, the taking character jacks is a lot more feasible because it's just 2 more points. I know a lot of people didn't take any of the character jacks because why would you take a 16-point character jack when you could take a 12-point beat stick? So I'm real excited to put Grindel on the table more and more Hades because I think those models look great. So I just have to paint them. I also have a note here that apparently painted Mechanothralls are going to gain +2 mat, but we've only ever seen one of those in our community, so they don't have to worry about too much on those. So
Sounds like a
Not
myth.
Kentucky, at
Tainted
least.
mechanic rolls. Which caster do you think is going to show up in pairings the most?
I think Decethus is going to show up a lot. I think he wasn't played that much in, let's say, 2025. I didn't see many people playing him. I played him because I think he was great with the Hellraker. I also just liked him in general because of the beat stick. I think he's going to show up in pairings a lot. Nicaine will also think will be another pairing. The thing is, though, with the way stuff is now, you could literally take any of the casters and do some things. Some have overlap for sure, so you got to make sure you offset yourself for your dual list. But I think they did a really good job in Cryx in giving you kind of a hard choice of what to take because everything has its place and everything can actually be usable. Like they didn't really change the Viserys's feat any at all. He does the same thing. They just fix the wording on it to make it more sense. So, but I think Decethus is going to be something that people see, and that's an easy kind of grab to go with.
Hell yeah.
My question is, why stop at paying 16 points for Grendel or Hades when you can pay 20 for Deathjack?
I think Deathjack is great. I love Deathjack. I don't think he's overtuned compared to a lot of things. I think it's just going to really depend on putting the extra stuff in your list. With Criterion's going up in points, it's going to kind of be a real choice of what you can actually fit in there. I personally will take Deathjack because I just love the model, and I think 2 POW 20 hits is nothing to sneeze at. He kind of generates his own focus. Yeah, he comes with Ghost Walk, he comes with Annihilation, he comes with the Soul Shift ability, which I don't use that much, but he can kind of self-sustain himself if you really need him to. He powers up for 1, he gets 2 souls, he can turn both of those souls into focus if he needs it to charge in.
I think it's important maybe to point out that he didn't change at all in the changelog.
No, he didn't.
I don't think Azrak and Orgoth did either.
Azrak did.
Oh, he did. Okay, I was gonna say. Then I wonder if Behemoth and Thunderhead are in their final form as we've seen them. But if he changed, that kind of throws that out the window.
That's a good point.
I'm fairly certain Azrak's reposition went down. There might have been another change, but I think he used to be Repo 5.
Yeah, that tracks. They're getting rid of a lot of Repo 5.
Which is good. I think that needs to be done. Any other crazy Cryx questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, I will render my judgment now. Cryx the best there ever was and ever will be. Everybody knows it.
Well, next up on the list, we move over just across the Meridius from the Nightmare Isles to the nation of Signar. We'll start, even though and I don't know why this is the way it is, but we'll start with Storm Legion, even though alphabetically Gravediggers would come first.
Storm Legion released first. Age before beauty.
There's it.
Fair enough.
So, Shawn Denny, tell us about Storm Legion.
All right. So I'm pretty excited about Storm Legion. Like they got a lot of changes. A lot of their casters feel like really good. I think their spell lists are pretty solid in general. Athena is probably the biggest change. Like she's completely overhauled. Like there's very few things that she is the same on. So she got a really cool new spell called Hand of Morrow, where she can hand out Blessed and Magical Weapon, which is pretty good. Blessed is always awesome. You can free up a command card with the Blessings of the Gods, which is not a bad thing to have that freed up somewhere. She kept Avenging Force, which is really solid. She has defensive formation. She gained Resourceful, which is going to be really good because it's going to save her some focus. Her new feat is awesome. Like friendlies get Repo 3, and enemies get -2 defense and speed, which in a world of reduced mats and rats is going to be really, really good. I think my biggest concern with her is just her supporting her army. Like, she doesn't really have any buff spells. Like, she's got Vanishing Ward and Blinding Light, so she gets to lower defense on some stuff, which is that's going to be a terrific spell on her, and it's really thematic. But she doesn't really have any like armor. Like, she doesn't have like Arcane Shield or anything that's going to buff up the units very well. A lot of it's just kind of debuffs, which is a little different for Storm Legion, I think. It's not really a faction that does a lot of debuffing. I think Calder's pretty much a wash. Her feet lost dodge, but she gained countermeasures. Crazy. That is
a hell of a spell.
Yeah, it's an awesome spell everywhere, and they laid it in Storm Legion, which was surprising to me. I was not expecting that. But she's got Fury Strength, which is good. Her spell list is really solid. I think she's done. I think she might have a little bit of same kind of trouble with like supporting her troops defensively. But she's got Crusader's Call still, so she's just gonna ram everything down everyone's like she always has, and that's not a bad thing. I've always loved that spell since back in the days of Mark II with the last Morrowind caster. Huxley is probably a big one that everybody's crying a little bit on. He got a much needed like nerfing or side stick. I'm not sure, because he got some good things out of it too. So the biggest thing is his Iron Horse went down to Repo 3 instead of 5. And all the jacks have to be within his control. They didn't have to be there. But the interesting thing is they took the limit of light and heavy warjacks off. So now you can put it on extra large and larger bases too. So you can put a Maelstrom with +2 speed on the charges, which is really good. I'm definitely not opposed to seeing a Maelstrom flying a little farther down the board. So that was pretty good. They did give him Storm Rager, which will give him some interesting like personal threat increase. I wasn't kind of expecting that, but I think it'll be good for him. I think we're going to see different packages with him though, because they really changed up the way Jack is tuned up. They've like tuned down. Of course, the spray 12 gun went down to like a spray 8, so which is still good. I mean, don't get me wrong. It went from 12 to 8 and dropped a point, which is still pretty good, but it's going to take it's going to take a hit. Like, you really want to shoot and repo was kind of the game for those guys. So, but they tuned up the grenade launcher from POW 10s to 12s, and they put a D3 POW 5 armor piercing gun with beatback on the other arm, which could be really good. I don't know. I want to get it on that. I think that has a lot of good potential. They also increased the cost of the punching spike on that thing, so the cheapest arm is no longer the cheapest arm. So I think we'll see different packages for coursers on that. You might see more heavies on him. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to try some stuff out. I think he's going to be like the biggest difference in how I might play him now. Like, I'm looking at lists with like 2 Borealises. If I could like talk myself into Stormforge Warriors doing accumulator on them well enough to make that work. I think Wolf is going to be incredible. He's probably actually the person I'm the most excited to play right now. Me and Anthony actually like sat down and worked out a list with him. I think he's probably the best support caster in the faction, hands down. He's got positive charge, which is freaking awesome, even if it does cost 3 now instead of 2. Energizer's really good. Onslaught's incredible. He's got Snipe. He's got Arcane Shield. He's got a little, damage dealer on Lightning Pulse, which might actually become a bit more relevant. But Wolf's probably he's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. And, being a 16-16 isn't too bad on the defense and armor. I think one that I've seen a lot of people excited about, Warhammer out of Storm. His feat got changed from rerolling storm calls to rerolling electrical, which is really, really good in Legion, especially with the Zephyr actually being pretty good now. I guess I should probably stop hinting around the Zephyr, maybe talk about it. But he got a nice POW increase on his melee and range. So he went from a 13, and he has rate of fire 2 guns. But the big deal is he gained Pathfinder and Steady. So he's actually pretty viable. His biggest problem was that he couldn't get where he needed to go, and he has 10-inch ionization. So you're increasing electrical damage by 2 within 10 inches of that guy. He's armor 18 base with Carapace, so ranged wise, he can actually like stay on the field with 18 inches. So I think a lot of people are really excited to see what he can do, and I think Sparkhammer is going to be really nice with him. And I think the Borealis's gun change, where it went up to POW 14s, will be really good for that as well. And then, of course, like the biggest change is they apparently put Kane 2 back into with access to Kane and infinite gunshots and accumulative damage feats and stuff. I mean, as a person that grossly overplayed Kane 2 and Mark 1, 2, and 3, I support this decision.
I don't.
I also kind of missed the old Kane because I thought he played pretty cool. I thought it was a nice kind of difference. But yeah, infinite rate of fire Kane's going to be disgusting. He's going to want to take a lot of the self-sufficient stuff, which will be the thing. Like he's not going to support the army very well. I mean, he's got Blur, which is really solid. I mean, that's a really good defensive spell in a world of decreased rats. But I think he's going to be really good, just like he always was. And passive gate crasher, like kill a model and you can teleport 5 inches, is gross with him. But I think all the casters got a nice tune, like a few side grades here and there. But like, I'm actually really excited about where everything went. I thought Huxley would get hit a lot harder than he did, but I still think he came out pretty good. I'm probably like the most excited about what's going on with the Zephyr, just because that can really give you like a sub theme of electrical damage for 9 points. I mean, I think 2 POW 15 guns is two POW 15 rat 6 shots is actually pretty good now. And it's got arcing fire and electro leaps. So, benefit off that ionization, which is pretty good. I think the biggest thing that people are really crying about is what happened to the Black 30. I'm not going to lie. I'm crying about it too a little bit. I mean, they're still really good. Don't get me wrong. It basically amounts to the fact that they lost Prey, Prowl, and 3 hit points, which I'm afraid they're going to get shot off the table now. Their defense 15, which is not irrelevant, especially now with lower rats and such. But I'm just afraid that's going to be their biggest problem, is they're just going to get killed really easy because they can die to blast, like a decent blast. And, it's going to kind of suck a little bit. But their guns increased to make up for the damage loss on Prey. And they're still really good rat. So I think they'll be okay. It needed to happen. Kind of great. At least that's what people told me. I didn't buy into it. But I think probably one of the models I'm going to be putting on the table a lot more, and I probably kind of slept on him a little bit anyway, but is the Tyson Vash guy, the Stormcaller solo that throws -1 defense grenades. I think he's going to be super relevant with the accuracy decreases. I think that's going to help him a lot. And then the possibility of making things stationary is good. I think one of the solos that, like, they only changed one thing on him, but I think Falk is maybe playable now. Like I didn't see him on the field a lot, but he got rate of fire 2. He was never a but him getting Rate of Fire 2 is really good. He's 4 points, which I think is still kind of expensive given other options in faction. But Rate of Fire 2 on a Spray 8 Power 12 gun with Decrepitation and Incendiary and all those levels, pretty good.
Don't sleep on the displacement shot type either. I do think that, like,
man, it's good. I mean, he has ambush and like advanced deployment, and those are terrific. He kept prowl also. He has running gun. I mean, he has like the tools to stay alive potentially. He's also 8 wounds, so I think I'll probably definitely put him on the table now. I just don't think he was worth it. I don't think he was worth the cost for 1 shot. But with 2, I think I'll definitely be putting him on the table. So that's really cool. There's a couple other models that got some things that make me want to put them on the table. Like the Sharpshooter has a new thing. It kept Rat 7, which is not a bad thing. It's really, really nice that it kept that. But it has double shot, so when it aims, it can fire 2 shots on a range 12 AP 6 gun. But it also gained an ability when it aims, it goes up to range. So it's got 2 range 14 POW 6 armor piercing shots that they could pick the column on, which is probably not irrelevant. Being able to pick off a limb or something could be really, really game. It's also got Pathfinder, so he can get up there pretty well and become relevant early, I think. And I'm also really curious to see how like Tempest Thunderers play out. Their guns increased a little bit in damage, which I think makes them want to see the board a little bit more. They're only Rat 6, but they're Mat and Rat 6, and they have POW 14/8 guns now. So they might actually see some more table time. But overall, I mean, I think the upgrades went really well. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people might be a little off on is like you saw Storm Veins a lot, and they got changed up a little bit. Now they can only use their abilities once per unit, so you could hand out the new E-Leap thing, or you can cast that Warping Winds, and you can do each thing one at a time. It reads really weird. The ability just kind of reads a little strange, but it looks like basically they have the 3 abilities, and they could only once in the unit each turn. And they also lost Channeler, which was probably not insignificant, but they made the Arc Node head 1 point like the rest of the Courser heads, so you might see Courser Arc Nodes now. So I think overall, I'm really happy with things. I'm really excited about a lot of what's going on. It really makes me want to settle in on a faction now, because the guys can tell you I've been all like, oh, I want to play Crucible Guard. Oh, I'm dying to play Kith Guard. Still am. Don't get me wrong, but there's some cool stuff here, and it's going to be fun to play.
What do you think was the most improved caster?
I think Athena is probably the one, but it's like a complete overhaul, so it's kind of hard to say. I think the one that changes it from like I'm not going to play him to definitely going to play him, or at least try him, is Sparkhammer. Mm-hmm. I think that feat change is there's that and the clarity on like Lightning Generator, but I think that feat change really changes him up, because there's a lot of electrical shots in the faction. I mean, gosh, a Maelstrom could put out a ton of damage electrically, and that rerolls on that will be gross. But I think that one's probably the one that like makes me go from like I don't really care about this. If it wasn't for his old man stats, that would probably help a bit too. I mean, he's what, 13, 17? So that's a little disconcerting. But I think I'm definitely interested in putting him on the board. So that's the one that made me happy.
There's nothing wrong with old man stats. As becoming an old man myself, I have to like the old man stats.
I got a few years on you, Mike, so
My big question is, do you feel like they succeeded in kind of their whole thing with your faction? I know, like with Cryx, I feel like they did. Do they make it feel like casters have identities now in yours, and that you can actually take them to do different things to kind of do different stuff in the game?
Yeah, I don't feel like anything feels samey to me right now with Storm Legion. Like, there's a couple that do similar things, but I don't think enough that like it's not like Calder and Huxley both kind of like move things up the board really fast, but Calder is going to be like shoving infantry everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And I think Huxley's going to be very jack heavy, just like he's always been. So I think they all feel like they have a really good role, and that's exciting because you can play different things and feel good about it, and be able to get some pairings that work out well.
And I believe that brings it to me. I'm going to be talking about Gravediggers a little bit, and they had a couple of changes throughout here. Some of them are pretty interesting. First one that I think is probably worth mentioning is the fundamental changes to how the crate mechanic works. As anyone who plays or has played against Gravediggers is aware, their unique faction mechanic frequently revolves around their special command card, the airdrop crates. All of these give you variable access to power throughout the game, all in different ways. The key to them is that they are, however, limited. While you have numerous options there, you only get to choose between a few of them. But on early game, they can have some pretty immense pressure on your opponent because while you know what air crate you're going to utilize, your opponent has to assume until you've actually used them that any one of them can be deployed to absolutely ruin their day. Starting with our light drops, you saw the ammo crate jump up to 8 health. This basically means you get an additional 3 shots off of that ammo crate when you drop it. This is pretty relevant, especially since we've seen some changes to the ranged output of the army pretty much down across the board. There are some notable examples of that, particularly on some of the units and casters, but we will get to that later. But this is a very nice way to mitigate that a little bit because while it reduces your top end has been reduced a little bit, it still allows you to deploy the ammo crate to get some consistent byline damage. There is also a fundamental change to the fuel crate, which is going to be absolutely massive for the army. This is going to now, instead of just benefiting you for helping your jacks get places that they need to be a little bit faster, which where it used to just provide an additional 2 movement by ticking down a damage, now just provides the speed by baseline and allows you to tick it down to increase the damage of a melee attack one of your jacks is making. This is pretty important to the army just because Gravedigger jacks kind of top out at either PS 18 or 17, which is a little bit rough even in our Brave New World. This allows you to mitigate that a little bit by if you, in particular, need something dead, you can drop one of those to boost your damage. This can allow some of our casters to get to a +4 or even +5 damage swing, which is fairly unusual in melee for how the rack changes have gone about. Finally, you have also seen some changes to the medical crate. Medical crate is very straightforward. It has given you the ability to bring back grunts that are models that are not just grunts. You can take back machine gunners and special weapons crew if needed. Can be useful if you've mispositioned and something gets sniped out and you can't take it up. And then the manlet will give you +3 defense against ranged damage rolls, or +3 armor, I apologize, as well as the defense bonus from being covered. I still don't think you're going to see a whole lot of manlets. It's the kind of thing that you basically only drop if it's going to stop you from losing the game. I think in all of the games that I've played of Gravediggers, which has got to be close to 50 by now, if not a little bit more, I think I've dropped a manlet once. But I will say, it stopped me from losing the game. So good to have it when you absolutely need it. The other ones are going to be a lot more impactful. Medical crates are good. They can cause people fits if they don't have grievous wounds. And then fuel cache and ammo cache is still going to be kind of the bread and butter of how the army is actually going to get things done. You also are going to be seeing some changes to the airdrop jacks. The blocker kind of took a kick in the head when it comes to output, but overall, I don't actually think it's going to matter a whole lot based off of how you're going to use it. The blocker is only spray 6 now, and it lost a good chunk of its special rules, as well as went down in some of its power, but you never dropped the blocker to kill things. If it got in there and did a little bit of work, that was bonus. You dropped the blocker because you need to hold ground for a little bit and you can't actually afford to dedicate a model there. It's annoying to kill still. You just drop it as a fire and forget contesting model that your opponent has to usually commit more than 5 points to actually remove. The far more drastic change is going to be the Raider. The Raider basically is the very short and sweet version of it now is that it gives flank to the unit that drops it if they are also engaging the target that the Raider is engaging. So that will give you +2 to hit as well as an additional damage die. There's a lot of interesting places that you can use this. I think the most relevant one is going to be with the Rowdies. Rowdies are already Weapon Master and have decent melee damage. Charge in with them and drop a Raider, and suddenly you're rolling 5 dice on damage. Even with only a +4 damage increase, if you can finagle that from either Argo or your caster, they start getting to the point where they can take like a POW 13 5 damage dice with 3 attacks. It'll take down an armor 20 heavy about 80% of the time, which is not bad at all for a good charge. I think it's going to be a little bit of a trap when it comes to things like the commandos and the rangers, but sometimes if it'll win you the game, why not? Going down to some of the casters, we saw some pretty wide changes to 3 of them, 4 of them, honestly. Basically, the only one that stayed mostly the same is Jake's. She picked up Chasten and Failsafe, sure, good, decent spells. And Butcher's Bill had the universal changes to how Vengeance moves and worked, where it's going to only be melee now. Aside from that, she's largely unchanged. She gets a whole lot of benefit from her feat, though, because she has a plus defense feat, which, as was commented on earlier in this little cast, defense got a lot more valuable. So being able to make your jacks up to a 14 or a 15 when most things are mat 6s can actually cause people a couple of problems when it comes to removing your models. Aside from that, kept synergy prints money. It is, as I am wont to say, and if I may quote Mike quoting me, a hell of a drug. We also are going to go ahead and swap right back over to good old Buck. Buck had a pretty hefty revamp to his feet where the entire thing becomes rough terrain in his control range, and models cannot get Pathfinder. It's important to note that if a model is able to gain the ghostly advantage or incorporeal or flight, they will still be able to move through the terrain in his feet without any particular issue. But for anyone else, it's going to be a flat -2 to just about all of their threat ranges, which can be effective. As for his mines, they will now be triggering on a 3, 4, 5, or 6, which makes them a little bit more consistent. As I alluded to earlier, I'm not particularly fond of slot machine mechanics, so I'm still kind of in on them, but they are going to be a little bit better now. They also correctly do magical damage now, so you can blow up ghosts. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. On to Cynthia. She gets Blood Boon all the time. That is fantastic. It lets her actually be able to use her spell list a lot more freely, and the rest of her shot types a lot better. The big thing with Blood Boon is that if you are counting on getting Blood Boon and you miss, as every single Fire Quill player can absolutely attest before this cast, it basically can throw your entire turn through a loop. Now, instead of being something that she has to sacrifice to get Blood Boon that still has a potential fail case, it's just something that she just has by default. If it triggers, cool. If it doesn't, then you just do something else. She also was able to pick up a new spell called Arcane Charge. It's a range 8 AoE 2 and has a POW 10 and 10 for its blast. Main thing on there is on a direct hit, models hit are going to suffer -2 armor. Very good for spreading some armor debuff around. Very good way to help push your damage through a little bit better. Probably stronger than Curse of Shadows. It is cost 3, so even though it's not an upkeep, you're probably not going to be throwing this out more than once, maybe twice if you Blood Moon it and then hard cast it. But this definitely is going to make her very much appreciate having Beaker around even more than she did. Finally, we are also going to swing over to Boom Boom and Vargas. They got relatively smaller changes. Vargas lost his field marshal, unfortunately, but he did pick up Hand of Destruction, so he gets a little bit of damage fixing in his list, as well as some other particularly nice stuff. He ended up being our Rock Wall and Rhythm of War caster, and both Rock Wall and Rhythm of War are really, really good spells. And likewise, his feet kept the +3 armor, which is also incredibly valuable. Then on Boom Boom, he picked up Fury, Strength, and Sentry, and got Veteran Leader for Assault Striders. His feet also changed a bit, so they are going to be getting +2 speed for models while he charge. And notably, he's one of the few casters who has a reposition 5 option just on his feet. It's nice to have when you have it, and it lets you do some crazy mobility tricks with them. For the rest of the army, the other big change you're going to see is the shifting of how tracer rounds work. This is very relevant on the heavy machine gun crew and the Patriots in particular. It is, instead of giving up all of your shots for it, it's just your first shot gets to ignore stealth and apply flare. Generally means those models get to shoot a little bit more than they did previously. It's a nice little slight upgrade to them. More notably, the heavy machine gun crew finally got pistol, which means that if you engage it, it can still actually do a little bit. And meanwhile, on the Patriot, it saw several of its less used options drop in points, as well as having one of its heads, its Swift Hunter head, switch to Steam Vents. All in all, some pretty interesting changes there. The big thing that a lot of people are talking about are the heavy field gun. The heavy field gun went down in points, got siege weapon, and then it got a new ability, Shell Shocked, which is going to reduce speed and rat for anything that hits on a direct hit. It also picked up the Danger Close ability, where the first time you flare something, it gets to shoot it. I have the somewhat, I would say, controversial opinion that I still think the heavy field gun is kind of a trap. It's better now, but the moment your flare models go down, it's oftentimes going to be a 7-point paperweight unless it is in a very aggressive position. And if it's in a very aggressive position, it's gonna die. Structure rules are nice, you can't get charged, but the heavy field gun can and will be shot off the table by an opponent with any meaningful guns. The ability to apply flare with the machine gun crew and the Patriots are nice, but machine gun crews and Patriots, they'll go down without too much focus a lot of the time. I am curious to see what people end up doing with it, though, and I do hope to be proven wrong. On the other slight changes we have here, they picked up Elish Garrity, and you also saw the Rangers get lone gunmen on the machine gunners. That's pretty impactful for the Rangers. Basically, you're going to see a lot of their output drop by 2. Their output with the crate is going to be what their output was previously, effectively. And then you're going to need to find a debuff somewhere, usually from Kane or from Sin, as well as a crate to get them back to what they used to only need the crate to do. This is going to shift their roles quite a bit. I think you're going to see them used to take down mostly light and the occasional medium infantry, but they could finish off a heavy, but it's not something you can really rely on the same way anymore. All things considered, I think the faction got some very interesting changes. The Valiant got a pretty heavy rebalance. They're definitely trying to encourage you to at least think about that heavy barrel once or twice. And I think that there's probably some interesting lists that you can build around it. I'm still a little bit wary there, just because outside of the rowdies, like Gravediggers can't fight their way out of a paper bag in melee. so you very much need your heavies to be able to do work there. All things considered, though, I am very interesting to see how the faction develops. I think there's a lot of very interesting pairings that you can make going forward. Buck getting repositioned changes him massively. I am not quite as sold as with Carnage and Silence of Death on him, just because with Carnage going up to 3 costs, like, poor Buck, my man. He's got 3 upkeep spells and a family to feed. Spending 3 on Carnage is a big ask for that man, unless it's going to be doing some heavy work. And Jake's is right there holding a sign that says, I just have synergy that you pay 1 to upkeep. We'll see. He's got a very interesting toolbox. We'll see what people do with him. All things considered, like I said, though, I think you're probably going to see, in my personal opinion, I think Jake's is probably going to be required in your pairing. Shawn talked a lot of interesting things about Kaen, which also just applies as much to Gravediggers as it does anywhere else. I think that he can do some very fun things in this faction as someone who you just bring your army to deliver to your opponent's caster and then just shoot him dead. Kaen doing Kaen things is always a treat to watch, and I think there's a lot of ways you can apply that here. While he can't apply to most of the traits, there are several really neat tricks that you can use for him in Gravediggers to help him get there.
Everything I've heard from every Gravedarg players.
No, they took away the dogs from us, unfortunately. Maybe if we get another cadre box.
Gravedigger players is the sky is falling, and I just mean that as kind of to summarize. But I feel like everyone else that I talk to, or I hear talk about them, is like, oh, these look really, really good. Can you explain to me why that is, in your opinion? Like, do you think that just Gravediggers are? My initial thought on that, and I could be completely off base, is like they're so locked into we have to play this way that now that things have changed, it's kind of hard to do. While other people who haven't played Gravediggers are like, oh, we could do these things, or am I completely off base on that?
Gravediggers, I would say, again, I don't want to come across as overbearing in this regard, but I think that I would say with some amount of honesty that Gravediggers is probably one of the most complicated factions to play in current Mark IV.
Uh-huh.
I think the only ones that are probably around their area is going to be Infernals, which, just due to their massive amount of special rules and order of activations problems, as well as the list building concerns that you get in Old Umbre, which can get kind of complicated fast when trying to actually exploit your unique mechanic there. Gravediggers is incredibly activation dependent. Your models are generally fairly fragile in a way that I don't think the current lethality changes heavily impact. I think a lot of the Gravedigger players are probably going to be a little bit concerned right now, just because seeing that, they are going to be worried about the fact that if they cannot remove enough things before they get to you, frankly, the Gravedigger player often will lose by default. Gravedigger players kind of epitomize the exact same play style that Steamforged wanted to move away from, which makes a lot of their changes make sense in that regard. But by the same token, alongside that play style, if they weren't able to execute that strategy, they often kind of fell to pieces. I think that there is probably some room for evolution within the faction, and I'm very interested to see how people develop within that.
Uh-huh.
But the nature of their model range being jacks and a bunch of single wound infantry, that you played Mark II, trenchers had stats that you would not consider good in Mark II defensively. I don't know if that is necessarily changed now. So I think some of them are looking at their army right now and going, well, my gravediggers are just going to walk up, not be able to remove enough, and then kind of get blown off the table by the retaliatory strike because I don't see the more durable options now. How that's going to change, I'm not quite sure. I do think that there is some play with the Assault Strider likely. That getting Buckler gives it +1 armor, which is something. And it didn't lose any of its offensive output, which is also something there. Maybe using those to try to hold ground and buy time might be a more palatable strategy going forward. Or you might also just see people go, well, screw it. I'm just going to go completely all in on guns. And you might actually see things like 3 Valiants with long barrels in Sin and just go, I'm just going to go all in on trying to shoot you off the table turn 2. And if I don't, we can go get lunch. Regardless of the direction the faction ends up going, I think there's probably some tools there, but it's going to take people a little while to figure out what they are with the gameplay in Gravediggers, I think, changing pretty heavily.
Gotcha.
I hope that was coherent.
Makes sense. I'm interested to see what happens, especially if like Gravedigger players get away from Gravediggers and then non-Gravedigger players move into Gravediggers. To kind of see like how different the lists are from the two, because it's a whole new world. You know what I mean?
That's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like that with the changes that you would see, like me myself, like seeing some of the changes and seeing how some people have reacted, I've kind of looked at them and I've been like, I'm wondering if this will make it like you're taking a complicated faction and it's still complicated, but you're changing the play style to where it might appeal to other players rather than people who are like set in their ways with that play style. Not in a bad way, but just to bring some fresh faces into it and see like, hey, I want to challenge myself. I want to see what I can bring to like lists and how I would approach this faction.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably going to be something to that. There's always a little bit of a grass is greener fallacy, and sometimes stepping out of a faction is the best way to be able to appreciate the game, as well as stepping into a new faction can allow you to see things that are there that perhaps more entrenched players might have missed.
Yeah. You're a very analytical player, and like you're one of the people who I go to when I'm thinking about lists and being like, hey, is this dumb, or would this work, or how does the math do on this? Because I don't believe in math. I think it's all numbers are all made up.
I only play by averages. That's probably why I usually only go 2 and 1. You take more risks.
I go by luck. So like your take on it's always been was really interesting to me. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens in the future. So, but that's my question. Thank you for answering it.
No, yeah, no problem at all. What else y'all got? Hit me.
So do you think you'll see like different configurations of jacks than what we're used to seeing? Like typically, former Gravedigger player here, like we'd see dual shot Patriots with a knife and you'd see the Valiants with a sword. Like, do you think we'll see some different ones with the changes to the different attachments and stuff?
So I've been pretty reserved here, but there is one thing that I will say with close to absolute certainty. Dual shot Patriot is absolutely dead. You're not going to see the dual cannon very much at all anymore. The casters that could actually exploit it changed pretty drastically, most notably Kane. He doesn't provide, there's very few ways to get it the kind of damage bonus that it really was able to exploit in a unique way, to the point where I don't think that you're going to see them very much anymore. This is on top of both other options getting better, and like the dual shot also lost range. It did get a little bit cheaper, but so did everything else. I think probably the most common Patriot option you are going to see is going to probably end up being the spear tracer cannon. you can build a pretty good spear tracer cannon patriot for 9 points. It gives you a flare option as well as a sidestep model with set defense. It is going to let you kind of dig in places, charge, sidestep, shoot something with the tracer round, try to light up something. You're going to see that in conjunction with the heavy field guns whenever someone is trying to get the heavy field guns to work. The grenade cannon going down to 3 points is also massive. I think you will also see some grenade cannon patriots floating around out there, just because that is a weapon that I played that occasionally even before the changes and it went down. It's just a good gun. For the Valiant, I think that people will experiment with the Valiant with the new gun options for a while. I think you will see a couple of people mess around with the heavy barrel, but if I was a betting man, and I'm not because I am incredibly smart and always win, it would be that you're probably going to be seeing people very quickly transitioning back to the probably too aggressive with either a trench sword or a hammer and a slugfist. The volley shield got a little bit more expensive. You'll probably see a few less of those, but you just don't have anything else in faction that does what a melee Valiant does. If you want to crack armor, you kind of need them.
Well, our resident Dusk player, Will, who's seen on stream a bunch, was unable to make it today, but he sent us some of his notes that he liked. Just some quick things that he mentioned. His big winners that he felt were Tyrus, Helith, and Skyrafel. Some of the changes, just quickly looking over them ourselves, looked very good with them. He thinks that Stonks are going very up for the Solus, the Mage Hunter Assassins, the Eidolon, and the Slayers. I know the Slayers seem to have got some much needed tech that they needed. He thinks there'll be a much stronger showing this season than last year. I know we all kind of agreed that they may have went a little too heavy last season when they nerfed them, but they were kind of insane the year before, from what I understand. He thinks the damage queues are going to be much higher, which is going to be good. Because they did have some issues. The faction is going to shift to kind of more of a glass cannon. He feels like they're going to do a bunch of damage and then kind of just die. Kind of like you don't think so? That's a hot take from you. Yeah.
Dust defense are high innately, and defense is the new armor in this meta, where mats have went down. I don't think they're going to. Now, if you go against a hyper accurate army or a army that has a feat that increases accuracy or something like that, sure, the Dusk models are armor of a potato sack, but no, they're gonna be harder to kill than you think.
Oh yeah,
Dusk is gonna be one of the factions to beat this year, I think.
I agree completely.
If you don't have a Dusk plan, you should.
When we were kind of doing a study thing on Crucible Guard yesterday, working on a list, and it kind of occurred to the people who were standing there. It's like defense really, really matters now, like it should. So it's going to be having high defense will keep you alive, but we'll kind of see how that shakes out.
But they got a really excellent upgrade. They lost Battle Lust, which was one of the spells on the rack that just about every caster took every time you took it. They lost that, which a lot of people were like, well, that sucks, but they have Stir the Blood on a solo now, so they effectively still have a +2, which is slightly less than what an extra die would give you on average, but every caster can take that solo, so
that's on top of a whole lot of their units getting more aggressive in melee. Seeing things like the assassins picking up Weapon Master or swordsmen. Solus Blade Masters are going to be a mess.
Yeah, the Blade Masters are going to be rough.
Yeah, they would have point on defense and armor and gain flank cohort model. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So Dusk will be one to watch. I think the thing, I'm not a Dusk player, but I was a Ret player before, so I try to keep my eyes on them a little bit. But I'm tickled to hopefully see Skyfell back on the table after her savage thrashing in this update. So she looks like her ability. It's sanguine something. Basically allows you to roll a third die every time you make an attack to fish for crits. It doesn't add to the attack roll. You roll a different colored die is the way they suggest, facilitating that, like you would if you're rolling for column or aspect number. But it's just always there to help fish for crits. And there's a pretty good crit out here on the Phantasm, crit decap on that PAL 22, 23 sword. I had Will the other day just absolutely truck a full health Warden under Siphon's feet with a crit decap. Just absolutely one-shot it. Armor 23, 36 box. Just absolutely annihilated it with like I think he rolled a 665 on the damage. Gross. But yeah, they'll be looking good. They'll be one to watch. I think they are probably the faction I would vote for that got the most flowers in this update. So we'll go to the motherland now and talk about the two Khador armies. First up, Old Umbre.
So the coolest thing about Old Umbre for me so far is the fact that we're getting like the two new mercs, which I really love mercs, especially as a new player because I love like different models and stuff. Alexia seems really good for Aslanov because now you have the option for double revive. And goats now don't have RFP. So you can, if you sack both your goats and you still have the shepherd, I believe you can bring back the goats. Or if you only sack one, you can bring back another goat, which is great to sit there and have constant protection around a jack or something that you're trying to hold a point and win that attrition battle. Dominic having Cloud and Spell Slave is really huge too. Spell Slave, it works the same way as Channeler, correct? So you can like
The origin of the spell. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that and having Cloud, I think a caster that you're gonna want to see or like look out for is Olisea, the Thorn one a lot, because especially where Dusk is gonna have such a big showing, in my opinion, this year, there's gonna be a lot of issues where like OU could get shot off the table, Dusk just out threats them like crazy, and I've played against Will, and being a former Dusk player, like it seems pretty nuts. So I think Olisea paired with like Dominic to have like the clouds to help block line of sight. She can put a forest to block line of sight and use a lot of really cool stuff like utilities to help block and kind of play more of like a control aspect, which is what she does good already. They did not. The coolest thing that I think is awesome is they did not touch Starved. That is my boy. I've said before we started recording that I wish I could take 3 of him because I have 3, and I love that dude so much. Um, uh, the Vengeance nerfs and the Windstorm nerfs, I feel like make OU's list building a lot harder, paired with the points changes that have come up. The Vengeance nerfs really hurt Orzhov, but he got kind of a glow up as well. And with Windstorm, my hottest take is I feel like Aslanov is going to be the least taken caster now. Or if he is, it's going to be because you're expecting like some kind of wild pairing that you think that you will absolutely dominate with Aslanov. Vengeance kind of sucks for Morozov because now you can't. It's basic melee attack now, so you can't like have 2 primevals with spears and you have a random warden that dies up. You can't just have both of them move up and then just like make a free spear throw, which would be sick. But you can't do that anymore. My favorite caster out of the lot right now is Morozov, the shapeshifter caster. I was already like, this is the dude I want to play the most as soon as he came out because I was like, oh, he transforms into a bear and he like benefits bears and wolves. Say less. I will 100% take this dude all day. And I built some stupid list. Our friend Tony, he helped me like look at it and was like, dude, I think that this could work. And the first time I played it, I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. So him getting muzzle and fog of war, especially, even though he lost the vengeance thing, so you can have a little bit of shooting support in it, I think it's going to be fantastic because now he is just this like ball of death that moves up the board, and having fog is going to be fantastic for, like, especially if you go first. You run up the board, fog, you lose a little bit, that's fine. You take like 15 wardens, you feat, you drop a bunch of stuff in there, you cast carnage, and you just have the biggest heyday of your life, just having an alpha wolf pinballing off mechanothralls and drudges left and right going up someone's board. That is my favorite thing that I've done in this game so far. Um, the kind of like negative hot take that I have for the faction is, again, like Aslanov you won't be seeing a lot of. I think Yana will replace him, in my opinion, just because Yana's very well represented, and I haven't played with her yet, but I can see why people take her, why she's so good. And I think until the Colossal drops and people start like actively, I haven't actively tested with it because it's not on pre-order or anything, but until the Colossal drops, I think you're going to start to see OU take a lot more like of the 20-point mercs, like Big Pig, Aberration, and Magnus, because I have played against Anthony several times with Magnus, where Magnus just absolutely puts the work in, man. Him and Invictus are insane, and having that kind of big bad in the list and having a lot of your utility around it, I think is really good too. Um, Mostly just because like Primeval's got hit a little bit, and then the last point I had was like the point changes are going to make lists a lot harder. Kind of like what I think is kind of relevant in a lot of factions is that really have to lean into what this specific list wants to do. You can't be like master of none, jack of all trades. You have to like pick what avenue this list is going to do that. Um, I don't think OU is going to be. I think they'll be well represented because it seems like it's a very popular army. But I think that they're going to struggle really hard this year because Dusk is going to be so represented, and they kind of, in my experience at least, you crumble to a lot of shooting and well placed shots, and so I think them and Kador is actually going to be really hard against OU.
Do you think you're going to be adjusting what kind of shifter models you take and how many of them? They're kind of the core mechanic, but I've noticed that as the faction has kind of evolved in the short time it was fully released before the update, you saw people kind of taking less and less shifters.
Yeah, I think shifters are going to start having, again, back to like the points argument, because bears now are, they've went up a point, so you almost always take two. So you're down 2 points. The shearlings went down, but the animist went up. So you're starting to see this increase, and you're very limited on what you can take. I think if a standard or like a meta represented one would be taken, I think people would start taking two of the bears because the shepherd's marked, and once the shepherd dies, you can put in a shield guard bear. Um, and then you can put it somewhere else. That way you have protection for those range threats. Because where the shearlings lost the ability to get rid of the range threat anymore, I think that the bears are going to replace it, and they're only 3 points apiece. So I feel like you could find somewhere to fit those in. But for like Morozov, dude, like I literally am. My list is I'm taking 15 wardens, some primevals, a starved, maybe a starved, and then I'm taking like max FA of wolves, all the wolves, and then two of the shield guard bears
That
just
sounds
to help the range.
super cool. I look forward to trying to play against that.
Yeah.
I'll mention, since the Krovnik is a new mercenary for you, the cloud that he puts out is pretty unique in that it follows the target that you put it on. Most clouds drop in place, like my Crucible Guard Alchemist smoke bombs drop on them, and then if they repo or something, they can repo out of it. But the cloud that Krovnik puts out moves with the target you put it on. So if you put it on your caster and they move, it stays with them. So that's interesting.
Really good, especially for Olisea, because where she can just move 5, or she can teleport 5, essentially that'll follow her. And then if you take, because Razor and Vilkul got a points decrease, if you take them, because she has the spell for like an ash cloud, and then he
Yeah,
has a
Burning
gun.
Ash.
Yep, he has a gun that can do Burning Ash as well. That is potentially 4 clouds that you can place on the board in one
Yep.
turn, which I think is going to be amazing.
Yep. A real control piece.
It's going to be a kind of a interesting shift because I feel like Azeloth was always something that everybody took.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. Again, being like a newer player, especially to the faction and Warmachine in general, like I've played Aslanov a few times and I had the problem of sending him too far up because I wanted the max benefit of the feat and getting him killed. So I feel like this update is tailored to me because I'm like, oh, I don't want to play him anyway because I suck at playing him. I want to play Shapeshifting Bear Boy, and now I get full incentive to do that.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked other Shawn. Do you feel like they did what they set out to do with OU, where they made your casters individually different enough to where it makes sense to take them at different times to do different things, or do you feel like you're
100%.
going to zone in on one of them?
100%. I kind of feel like that Yana will have a better place. I feel like Yana will have a better identity. Galena already has a great identity for being just a fantastic like economy caster, and then Morozov is just going to be like Hazaroth and Dusk. He's just going to be your aggro boy. Like, I don't want to think, I want to run up the board and hit you. I'm really happy with the update for me, and happy with the global update as well as like a newer player. As like a side note, I am really happy with this as a newer player because playing against like titans like you guys who have played forever, especially a lot of war games, you guys have different ways that you think just from muscle memory and playing so much that sometimes when you get, not that it feels bad or anything, but I can see the difference in it. And when you're doing a lot of the math and like rat fixing, hit fixing, damage fixing, and realizing like, oh, I know what I'm going to pick up this turn, removing some of that element and having the chance for a comeback feels really good as a newer player, and it feels like the game's going to go longer, which I'm happy with because that's more learning opportunities. That's more options to sit here and go, okay, if he gambles this, I have this avenue open now.
It's a really good point.
Yay.
So friend of the channel, Tony, wasn't able to join us tonight for the recording, but he did send a very spicy list of his hot takes and wish list, which I'll walk through and share quickly with folks. So Tony's first hot take is that probably the top 3 casters in Khador in Winter Core remain Baronova, Saverin, and Sakura. He says that the spell additions and passive changes to those 3 casters are so big that it dwarfs anything that anybody else got in the faction. And I can kind of see that. Baronova was already good, already one of probably the most popular casters in a 2-list pairing, and she lost pretty much nothing. She gained an extra focus, 2 extra inches on her control range. And her feet didn't change, and it can be a time walk in the right situation. Saverin, who I like playing when I play Khador, he kill order got a little worse because it lost the to hit component, but it got a little better because the way the friendly range restriction has been removed. So it's going to mean you can be spread out a little bit more, not castled up so much, and still take advantage of kill order. Sakura gaining the ability to project speed 6 mana war in a 10-inch bubble instead of just a single unit is also huge. I think the Wrecking Crew, which I've honestly never seen on the table since we returned to playing Mark IV Warmachine, they threaten 11 inches on a walk now, which is outrageous. He has a hot take in here that I'm going to call it Mother Bear because I know that's what it translates to. He says Mother Bear became the best Jack in Khador. Says the balance change doubled down on what she was already good at, being a Jack that punishes you for attacking infantry. With her having the highest possible mat in the faction, tied for the second highest natural threat range, makes her a monster to contend with. I will respectfully disagree. I think she's overcosted. I still think she's good. I think she having the Righteous Fury and the Vengeance is good, but I want to see. There's some really cheap heavies now with the changes to Khador Jax. I think it'd be really interesting to be able to have a lot of just a lot of heavies on the table.
You also think that any jack that's over 10 points is too expensive.
Look, I have the greatest jack of all time in the Toro. It is the perfect jack for 10 points. I mean, Khador doesn't have any light jacks. This is their light jack. Is the 10-point Great Bear or the I think it's 9-point Direwolf, or maybe it's the other way around. But I'm not saying I don't think Mother Bear is good. It is good. I just don't know at the price that because it went up a point. I don't know that it's. I think it's kind of a wash from where it used to be. Here's another hot take. He says the change to the pikeman was more a nerf than a buff. He says the increased health is all they needed, having to rely on being in combat with a model that's also in melee with our jacks to unlock their true potential to get back to their higher mat is a nerf. Our high pow jacks should be killing anything they get into melee with anyways, which would leave the pikeman no targets to attack realistically. I can see his thinking on that. You hope that if you're going to send in, like a Khador heavy with a hammer or something that's high pow, that it's going to take care of what's in there. That's not always going to be the case, but I can see that it's kind of maybe a little less than a side grade. Do love that they're 8 boxes now. They should have been. And he says that 2 Bisons are going to be standard for Saverin. I think that's true. I think it might also be a Bison in Behemoth 2 when Behemoth 2 comes out. Hot cycling fire for effect is outrageous on a Bison.
Bisons are going to be absurd with that,
man. Yeah, you're going to see Bisons everywhere now. They were pretty popular before, but I think they are just absolutely cracked now, especially with Saverin. It has both barrels. So under kill order, I think it's PAL 21 and the AoE blast is 16.
Yep. Yeah, I hope your blast resistance infantry enjoy that.
Yeah, exactly. You take out a whole unit of Rocketmen in one go.
If I may also point out something that I think a whole lot of people have missed thus far, and is kind of massive. Did you all notice that the Shock Trooper Gunner's spray didn't get reduced?
Yes, I did. They were already good too.
Yeah. No, yeah. The Shock Trooper Gunners were virtually unchanged. You know what else was virtually unchanged? Suppressors.
Yeah, suppressors still really good. Still love kill order. Tony has another hot take, and I think I tend to agree with him on this one. He says the addition of the lone gunman rule to the autocannon for Winter Corps infantry is a bigger nerf than the Rangers machine gunner getting it. His reasoning is the Winter Corps infantry, which were already an underplayed unit, have become virtually unplayable now because they're Rat 5 shooting with only one OK shot being available to them, which is a single CRA shot at Rat 8 PAL 14 with all the grunts with the rifles combined. He says the autocannon weapon support becomes unplayable because the impact of a Rat 5 PAL 11 gun with volume fire is too small for its price point. The Rocketeer does have a solid damage gun, but is still low rat, and the only way of increasing its raw rat in faction is by bringing a 5-point unit. What he says, though, he does like the grenade porter now, since it not only provides the additional CRA shot because it has a rifle in addition to the grenades, which gives you the option to do 2 Rat 7 PAL 13s or 1 big Rat 9 PAL 15 shot, but also the grenades, which can be surprisingly high value in certain matchups. The amount of times he's had an unexpected amount of damage done to me by PAL 12 Blast 8 is innumerable. And I know he's talking about Pig Boarding Party for that one because both Wade and I have savaged poor Tony with those grenades on those pigs.
I would counter that take with the simple observation that it must be nice to have other units that you can pivot to.
That's true. Yep.
Agree. That would be my same take. Like, there's just other options in Gravediggers. I think it's a hit for him certainly, but it's not as bad as the Gravediggers because of that.
It would not. It would be a small. It would be a worse nerf for them than it was for Gravediggers if Gravediggers had anywhere near the unit pool
Yeah.
that Khador had.
No, I feel that. I think it's interesting though. I think we're going to see more stuff that we haven't seen before out of Khador. We'll still see some Bisons. I think we'll still see a lot of the Jacks that we're seeing, but we'll see more Man-O-War this season, I believe, which is great. I don't think we'll see no pikemen. I think we'll see some pikemen. I think we'll see the shock troopers. I think, strangely enough, and this is one of the last points that Tony's got on here, you're going to see the controller. What a glow up this little guy got. So before, as a solo, and the little unique thing he could do is he could move a defense around. Well, now he can still do that, but he also gets to just make one once per game and put it into play. Just, don't have to take the defensive card to get it. You can just have your boy go up and be like, here, there was nothing here before, and now there is a wall or a spike trap or whatever you need.
That's amazing.
That is so
yeah,
cool.
I think
Tune
that's
up moving to him is also massive.
Yeah, tune up on him is great. So yeah, I think Khador probably jockeying with Dusk for the most impactful changes. I do think they also got some nerfs for sure, but I think I'm really looking forward to seeing sort of Khador sort of come up and with some new lists, and I think they'll be strong. It'll be something you probably need a Khador plan.
Agree.
So our Chimera player Seth is unfortunately on a business trip. We weren't able to get him to send us some notes since he is traveling. None of us are Chimera players. We will try our best. I think the salient things, just sort of in a general sense, and if anybody has any specifics, you feel free to hop in, is that the Trichimerics got slapped pretty hard. It was a pretty dominant piece. Most of the heads that were free before now have a cost. Some of them have went up as much as 4 points. The tail that used to negate spells has been changed to give magic resistance in an aura instead. I think as somebody who likes Spellslinger casters, I think that's fair. I still think maybe there's a little bit too much Sacred Ward and Spell Ward in the game, but I like the design space that they've put in for this new magic resistance ability. I still think you'll see the Trichimerics. It's still a really strong piece, even with the increases in points to it. I think the other thing that's worth talking about is that I think Chimera wasn't as bad as Orgoth, having just one caster propping it up, but I don't think I ever saw a Chimera player at a tournament not have Shyrus as one of its two casters. And she's still good, but I think they did a pretty good job in bringing up a lot of the rest of them. They tuned Shyrus down just a little bit, but like Nixian looks really good now. She has a really good feat. She got to keep Execration, although Execration's only -1 now. It's still a great spell, especially in Chimera also has traditionally pretty high defense, so being able to reduce mats and rats further in a good size bubble are going to be to their benefit. But all in all, I think I'm happy to see more list diversity out of them. That's more work that I'm going to have to do to learn more casters and learn more units and learn more rules, but I think that's healthy for the faction. That gives people room to build interesting lists, and that's always fun to play into that kind of stuff.
I know. Talking to Seth, the little we got to when we were researching Crucible Guard, he seemed excited about them.
Yeah,
he seemed real excited about the changes. He thought that they did it. My question that I've asked the Shawns, it felt like he did. He felt like they did a good job of making all the casters kind of have their shine again. So, all
right, we're going to talk a little bit about mercenaries. Talk first about the general mercenaries that a variety of armies can take, and then we'll talk about a couple of the mercenary sub-factions. So to start with, Magnus got buffed, and I'm super excited about it. I love Magnus. try to take him in a few lists just because of him just being one of the coolest personalities in the setting. But here's what happened for him was that Hellrot provides +2 arm and retaliation. He got it is now subject to the same vengeance. The vengeance move change that is made globally. Invictus drops a rat, which is understandable, but the pow on the flail, the 3-inch chain weapon flail, goes from 18 to 19. He gets aggressive, which is huge. And he loses bond with Magnus, but just gains the retaliatory strike that provides as just a rule on his card. So aggressive and +1 POW on Invictus is huge. It gives him greater focus efficiency, not having to spend 1 to run or charge. Energizer still moves, gives him an incredible threat range. And, it's just a great package. I think he may be, with the changes, there weren't really, I don't think there were changes to Big Pig. He's still pretty good. I think there's going to be certain circumstances where he's the correct choice, but I think you're going to probably see more Magnus in Steamroller 2026, which is awesome because I love Magnus.
No, I think there's a very good argument that, as you said, he's probably the best of the Super Juniors now. Aggressive natively on him goes a long way.
Yeah.
And he's not nearly as pillow-fisted as he used to be.
Right. Plus, Magnus will just randomly do incredible work. He can contribute at range with his rocket launcher. He's got focus, so he can boost the hit and damage rolls on that. He can aim and then energizer back, which is, great in a high defense skew sort of meta. Plus, I can't tell you the number of times I've thrown away Invictus, unfortunately, just because I've underestimated some threat ranges or some damage outputs. But then Magnus with 5 focus and an armor-piercing initial charge attack will absolutely kill a Jack or a Beast.
Or a caster.
Or absolutely a caster. So when you lose Invictus, you just get an awesome super solo instead. On the flip side, though, as much of a glow up as Magnus and Invictus got, Kruger got eviscerated, unfortunately. He lost a point. He's only 6 points to take now, but they cut Ashen Veil off of him, which means he's not concealed all the time. Living enemy models without fire resistance are not -2 to hit him and other models within 2 inches of him. So he gets less defensive. He lost Mental Force, which was the thing that let him cut for D3 to fully boost all of the attacks associated with each of his 2 sprays. So he cut twice to fully boost both sprays. He gained Destructive Power instead, which works the same way, kind of. You have to cut to boost every single roll now. So if you lined up a single spray that caught 3, you'd have to cut 3 times to boost on all 3 of them. So not nearly as good, but maybe a little more fair for the points. Also, his sprays went down to 8 from 10. So I don't see a silver lining in that at all for Kruger. Even losing a point, I don't think he's going to be seen often. Even though he got added to Brine's, he may have gotten added somewhere else, but I think we'll see his stocks drop pretty precipitously after the update. I think it's also interesting. I won't go over any of the specifics. A lot of armies gained access to existing mercenaries they didn't already have, which is great. Those are good models. They should be played more. I think I've looked at some I want to play Zacchaeus the Winter's Chill because I think that's one of the coolest models in the game. He might be really good in an army that I take, but I think there are other, I think it's great that Old Umbre's getting the Karavnik, the Golden Lord. That's great. He's a great piece. More people are getting Alexia. She's really good. She gained health, which is going to keep her survivable. So it's a good time for the generic mercenaries.
I think that's really good. I hope they keep expand that a little bit more, as long as it makes sense in the lore. I know that not a lot of people work with Cryx, but it's good to see more of those on the table because they're just neat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't Garrity go into Gravediggers too? Which is
Yeah, and Storm Legion, or maybe he was already in Storm Legion.
Storm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a good son.
He's got Puppet Master and the offensive version of that where you can make your opponent reroll. Marionette, I think, is what it's called.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. He also, if he dies, I think he makes all of your opponents' upkeep spells go away within like a big bubble.
It's like
Yep.
8 inches, I think.
So we're going to talk about a couple of the mercenary sub-factions. I'm going to talk about Dark Ops for just a minute because I have spent the last time since Lock and Load playing them. There honestly wasn't a ton of changes for Dark Ops. Exelon Kathos got changed. Mike talked about that earlier in Cryx. The same stuff sort of is applicable here in Dark Ops, so I won't go over that. Nostilla and Aberration, which I know they're a Super Junior, but we'll talk about them here. They changed a little bit. Aberration lost the point of rat, but otherwise stayed the same. Nostilla had quite a few changes. So her arcane attack went from 6 to 5. Her mat went from 6 to 5, and her rat went from 6 to 5. So she's not really as reliable of a anything attacker anymore. Her brain damage spray went from 12 to 10, which that absolutely needed to happen, but spray 10 is still, that is a premium range spray in this environment because most things are 8 or less now. She lost awe, which I think is fair. That's probably too good of an ability to have in addition to oh gosh, what's your spell that lets you blank an attack? Vision, thank you. It's probably too much. But I still think she's good. I still think Aberration and Nostilla are good. There are so many factions that Revive is a clutch spell. She's still fantastic in Dark Ops when you need her. Well, all the Super Juniors are because they count as friendly faction. But Thexus Double Revive with all the dudes is probably going to be a list in the new year. I think her being able to, in Dark Ops specifically, her being able to hand out vision to other things is great. So I think she did get a little bit of a nerf, but I think she's still strong. The Criterions we talked about in Cryx, they lost a point of mat, went up a point. I don't think that changes how often you're going to see them in Dark Ops. They're great. We don't have the brute thralls that Cryx has to counterbalance out, so they're still... Them and the Iconoclasts are sort of our premier units, and I think we'll still see them both quite a bit. The Iconoclast lost the point of rat, which is appropriate, but they didn't have any other changes. They're still good. The dominated units, so that's the Winter Corps Infantry, the Strike Reavers from Orgoth, and the Stormblades all went down. The Kador and Signal ones went down 1 point to 8, and the Strike Reavers went down 2 points from 10 to 8. I'm interested in the Strike Reavers, doing some testing with them because they gain all the stuff that the Strike Reavers gain in Orgoth, which is they gain a point of armor, they gain the last word ability. And they have 2 melee attacks, they have a ranged attack. I think they have assault. I'm not sure. But they're more interesting now. They were a never take before at 10 points. There was just too much other good stuff in the faction, but now I think they're worth a second look. I like the Winter Corps group. I actually use them in my Thexus list. I'm sure they're, even though it's not spelled out here in the changelog document, I'm sure their volley gun is also going to gain Lone Gunman. The rocket on that unit has it too, so I imagine they're going to have that, which is they're going to be a little less impactful with that change, but I still think they're interesting. They're a ranged unit in a faction that doesn't have a lot of access to range other than those psychic sprays that most of the Cephalic solos get. So I still think you'll see them. I think I misspoke earlier. The Kador and Signar ones are down to 7 points for the unit now. Their Dominators that come with all of those units did keep Inspiration, so they will be +1 rat. So that may not hurt as much as because the regular Winter Corps are at 5 without inspiration, so they may be faring a little bit better than the original units in the factions. I think just sort of a general. I don't think there was enough changes to Dark Ops to really affect their standing. They were a good army before. Skilled players get good results with them. I think that's going to maintain true. They've got everything out now. The army is how it is, and I think it's got a lot of great tools. I think the only really limiting factor is the limiting factor they've always had, and just having 3 casters available to them. But they've got great tools and great toolboxes. I think the only thing that is probably going to continue to be impactful to their detriment is just how much stuff all of the casters, except for Kythos, really want to put spells on stuff, whether that's Siphon wanting to gallows things into threat ranges to his monstrosities to take down. Thexus wants to crippling grasp stuff. And that's, sort of part and parcel of both of those casters' game plans. So they'll still struggle into stuff that is sacred warded or spell warded, but I still think they've got enough tools and good builds to probably be able to look past that. So I think they are strong. They didn't get any less strong. I think they'll stay where they're at. I don't think their stocks are going crazy, but they're still a really solid army. I still think they're probably A tier.
I'd agree with that. I think they're very good, and the fact that they are a 3D printable army, and the fact that they are good is something that has always given me hope for the game, because they didn't just be like, hey, here's an army that you can 3D print at home, and then we're going to nerf it into the ground, like other systems have done in the past, of like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff that's come out, let's nerf it into the ground. They've actually kept it a viable army to play with. That means a lot to me, and as someone that I can be like, hey man, you should come play this cool game with us. We can print it for you. You don't have to worry about going out and buying it. It can be a low cost entry. So I'll get on my soapbox on that again.
No, that's good. And I think that's an important thing to say too. Like it's not a freebie army. You have to be subscribed to get it. But it is a good army. It's not like the metaphor that comes to my head is there used to be these product for Magic the Gathering that you would get when you would go to a store that were these free little like 40 card decks that were like monocolor, and they were awful. This was the product that they were supposed to give you to get you into the game, and it was just like, if you played against somebody who just went and bought like any like starter 60 card product, they were just going to stomp you into the ground. Like it was like, why not make them? You could make a good, with so many options, you could make something good, but that's not what this is. And we won't talk about them tonight because they're a little bit too new, and we want a few more things to come out. But when we do the deep dive on the Pharaoh, they're looking to be pretty much the same. I'm really excited for the Pharaoh. They look really interesting. They're bringing Starman Drang back, which is awesome. What a cool model, and what a cool concept for a caster he is. So, or they are, I guess.
That model is sick, dude.
Yeah, we'll talk more about them in a later update. But I share your optimism there, Mike. The stuff that they're given as cheap on ramps to be able to play the game are actually pretty good.
On my end, I've actually been playing a whole lot of the Rule Guard, or the Searforge Commission, as the cool kids used to call them. Ever since Lock and Load, I wanted to get a little bit of a palate cleanser, and I'm actually super excited for some of the changes that they're getting. So, part of what makes them good is how very little things moved around compared to other factions. Mat 7 is kind of at a premium nowadays. There's not a lot of factions that have access to Mat 7 in a particularly concentrated way. Rule got to keep their Mat 7 melee infantry that are all POW 11 weapon masters. So hammer dwarves are actually able to do a pretty considerable amount of work right now, especially since with the solo that you are always taking, they are going to be threatening 11 inches pretty consistently. On top of that, the artillery got a fairly light touch. They got lost inspiration on their solo, but like it's range 16 artillery, guys. It gets to aim most of the time. Dropping from 9 to 8 is not a huge deal. Their jacks came through pretty clean. They lost Mat 7 on their driller, but the driller also has sustained attack, so it kind of doesn't matter very much. The bigger changes are going to be that the Avalancher lost a point of rat, and so did the Rock Ram, which both had some very nice knockdown guns, which are going to be a little bit less consistent now. The only real caster changes they had were focused on Gordon, who picked up a Boundless Charge, which is a real good spell in Rule. Makes those hammer dwarves go from the aforementioned 11 to a nice 13-inch threat range on them, which is kind of high in the current environment. On top of that, since it's friendly faction, you can cast Boundless Charge on any of the Super Juniors. Like, if you want to make Big Pig or Invictus go real heckin' fast, then feel free to just drop that on them and watch them go vroom. Invictus, in particular, threats 15 inches on that. Gordon has always had a very interesting kit. He's just been kind of let down at various points throughout his existence by either his focus cap or his speed or his spell list, but now that you can kind of play him as a real caster with a good spell list and one of the most back-breaking feats in the game when it goes off well, I think he's going to be really good.
I think he's already good.
I think he's already really good.
Yeah.
He's about to get better.
Oof. Recently messed up his feet in a tournament game against Corey. Completely forgot what it did. Oof. Oof.
Yeah, I like killing Magnus 4 for free. Oh no, wait, that was when I pushed off your jacks. I keep forgetting. No one knows what Gordon's feat does because very few people play Gordon. So you get to take advantage of that a lot. As always, any of you all who play tournaments, let me give you a single piece of advice. And that is the best question you can ever hear from your opponent is, hey, what does that do?
Yep.
Means you're going to have a good time.
Yep.
Well, I for one am scared and excited to see our new Dwarven Overlords.
No, I'm excited to get them on stream. I've had a dwarf army in the closet for a while, and it's very nearly fully painted. Just have to get that second unit of the high shields taken care of. Now that they're freaking 6 points for 7 models, it's a drudge cost.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to talk about Sea Raiders and Orgoth just a little bit. Just kind of like with Chimera, our Orgoth player is not available to give us some notes. I will give a shout out to one of our Discord channel members, Thomas from New York, who gave us a couple anecdotal pieces. He said that he feels like with the changes, they went from being an army with an S tier caster in Horix, but like a B tier faction, and he says he feels that it's more spread out now. It's more of an A tier faction with a lot of B plus and A casters. So I know that's got to feel good. I think more so than any other faction in the game, they were the ones that were sort of struggling with caster and list diversity. And I think that that's definitely going to be something that's much improved in the new season. I think Oriax looks good. Butcher looks great, and which is fantastic because that's such an amazing model. It's such a important character in the lore of the setting, To not see such a centerpiece model on the table was kind of a shame, but you absolutely will see him now, and you'll see him with Azdrag, and it will be scary.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good lord, is he a terrifying caster?
But yeah, in general, I think they got a pretty good bump, and I'm excited to see what comes out of that. Since I think a lot of people who don't have a dedicated Orgoth player in their meta that likes to experiment with stuff, probably their only experience playing into Orgoth is playing Horrocks. So it's almost like people get to experience a whole new faction that's been around for a while.
Yeah, we got really lucky with Cameron, who's our Orgoth player. He really enjoyed experimenting, and he's kind of stubborn, and he was like, I can make this work. I can make these things work, and he did a real good job of it. Like, he came up with some decent lists for not having to run Horus all the time, but he would always come back to Horus gets better.
I really enjoyed that Aurochs game that he played on stream. That was a good one. I'd like watching that one.
Yes, he did a real good job on that one.
So we'll finish this out. We're going to talk about Brinebloods, and I think there is a lot of change to Brinebloods. Probably, I think, in terms of, they may have not got the most actual changes, but I think in what the play style of the army is and how previous players were building lists and thinking about what was possible past the victory, I think Brinebloods has the most change. I think one of the big things, of course, is that the Marauders, which were the keystone unit of the entire army, has lost gang. They also lost the quartermaster attachment. No longer has snipe mini feat. He did retain the one that gives +2 power for the rest of the unit, not the quartermaster himself. So the role of them being like a start every list that you build with 4 units of Marauders is probably, that era is probably over. It's not to say you won't take Marauders, you won't see Marauders. They're still really good. Even though they lost gang, they picked up 2 POW on their weapons, so they're POW 13. Star of the Blood still exists in faction, so they can easily be POW 15. Even though there's Mat 6. Orgoth, the solo, I think still has veteran leader, so they can be 7 if they're within 10 inches of him. They still have ways to get in and mix it up. But they're the very common list of taking Ragemonger, a bunch of Marauders, and shooting the opponent off the board on feat turn is dead. Not to mention the changes to Marauders, but Ragemonger's feat only works on melee attacks now, which I think is probably the intent, given that he's a big melee dude riding a shark with a spear. So that probably matches up a little bit more. But I know a lot of people are upset because that was, a cornerstone of their tournament pairing, and it was very, very good. A bit of a slot machine, because when it worked, if you could roll 6s or 1s, you were in good shape. But it was certainly a very strong feat. So the Marauders, the cornerstone unit, have changed. They're still good, but they're different. The other thing that's important to think about for the new changes to Trolls is everything that didn't have the amphibious advantage has gained it now. And I think people may be underestimating how important that is and how much that's going to change the playstyle of the army. Brinebloods has several pieces. There's a War Beast head. And there's units, the Frog Shamans can turn open water or open terrain into shallow water. I think it's very trivial that a Brinebloods list may have 4 stealth units between Prowl and the ability to hand Prowl out from the booty bosses. I think it'd be pretty trivial for an entire Brineblood army to be in the amphibious bubbles that can be created, which means the average defense of the Marauder is 14 on the approach. The pigs will be 16s on the approach. And I think if you add Boomhowler, who is unfortunately dead in the lore, but still very much alive in the Brinebloods list building, she was the caster who maintained Rough Seas, which is an absolute gut punch to shooting armies. And her feat still gains +2 defense and rapid healing. So if you don't think Boomhowler defense skew, 4 units that are stealth, 2 more, all of which are defense 14, 16, or even 18, is not going to be a thing once people start realizing that. You're going to have a troll plan. They're going to shove a ton of meat, high defense meat, at you as fast as they can, and you got to have a plan for it. I'm not playing. I played Brinebloods most of last year from the time we started playing again, and about this time last year to Lock and Load. And I'm not playing them this year just because I really, really want to play Crucible Guard. But a lot of people are down on Brinebloods, but I'm telling you, it is different, but they've not lost a step. And I think because Mats and Rats are down, because defense is so highly prized, I think they may come out being pretty hard to deal with. All of the casters, I know Firequill has an amazing set of kit now. I think you're going to see Firequill. Bagattabomb is going to be, he is going to kill some people. His feat changed to not just giving corporeal to Bullcroak models, but to all friendly faction models. So he's going to be an absolute nightmare for folks to deal with, not only in Brinebloods, but he's going to be a menace in Kithgard. Just absolutely going to be problematic for him making things popping out of trapdoors incorporeal for a turn. So big kudos on the change. It's different, but I think good Brinebloods players will adapt. We have a whole lot of new tools we didn't have before. There's more casters to look at. Foulblood, is still really good. He's the one who got Fury Strength. It's just going to be things have swapped around a little bit. Playstyles are going to have to change a little bit, but I don't think they're going to feel as samey. The lists are not going to feel as samey anymore. I think there's reasons to take a lot of different stuff now that there just wasn't before, because it just used to be apply 4 units of Marauders, a couple of Beasts or an Abyssal King, buff everything up to 11, and then send it in. It's going to be different now. One of those different ways is, hey, we're incredibly hard to hit now. These 40 millimeter chunky trolls are some of the most defensive dudes in the Iron Kingdoms now. So that's my take on that. I'm kind of a armchair Brinebloods player now, but I honestly think that's what's going to happen. I think we'll see that come out once people start putting 2 and 2 together.
That brings me to the question I've asked everybody else. Did they do their job? All the casters feel like you can do something different and you have a reason to take them?
Yeah, I think so. I think you will probably still see Boomhowler quite a bit. Her kit is frankly pretty incredible. It always was before. Rough Seas is just very, very good. She's got Onslaught now, which helps because one of the things that Brinebloods really struggled with previously was Pathfinder. Not a lot of Pathfinder. So her getting that is also pretty good, especially if you're going to stealth up, high defense up a bunch of dudes and just run up the middle of the board. I think most people are down on Ragemonger. He definitely did lose a step from where he's at, but I still think he's great. He's only a 6 Fury caster, but he has Starcrossed, and Starcrossed is an incredible spell.
It is
Starcrossed,
very hard for a Starcross caster to be bad.
yeah, absolutely. So, I still think he's good. Firequill, I loved Firequill before. He was my pocket caster. I knew he probably wasn't, as competitive as the rest. I still think he was good before, but he's great now. He changed a lot. I played him in the play test. He changed a lot from the play test, but I think for the better. I think there's a viable ranged build now with Heavy Rain. It works on all friendly faction models now instead of just the cohort. There's some really viable shooting, not just the Marauders, but the cannons are good. The troll specific blimp is good, and you hardly see that thing. And then there's great ranged options on the heavy and light war beast. So I think you'll see Firequill. I think it's a situation where if you only saw 3 casters before, I think you saw Boomhowler quite a bit. You saw Ragemonger the most. You saw Boomhowler probably the second most, and then you sometimes saw Foulblood or Shadow Tongue, and you never saw Firequill and you never saw Begatabomb. I think the curve has evened out. I still think Boomhowler is probably going to be on the high end, and I think until people figure him out a little bit more, maybe Begatabomb is going to be on the low end. But it's going to be a much more normalized curve. I think nobody's going to be at 5% and somebody's going to be at 95%. I think it's all going to be a lot closer, and I do think there's really good reasons and really good builds for all of them now.
Awesome.
I was going to say that with their changes and stuff, like what I said earlier about Corey with Gravediggers, especially me where I'm new and I want to my Timmy brain wants to play everything. I love Brinebloods aesthetics, and especially where it's more thematic, hey, they're amphibious, you get this water thing. I think that's really cool, and as more new players might be attracted to the faction of hey, these guys are frogs, they're thematically using water, things like that. That interests me and piques my interest into the army, and that I don't know. I'm a big fan of changes like that because it makes you use the army in a creative way and and you get more use out of the side models that you bought out of your box. If you bought however many core boxes it took to get that many models of Marauders, now you're looking at it being oh hey, I got 4 units of this in the background. I'd like to get this on the table at some point and get some utility out of it.
So I realized I just made a small mistake. The Begatabon's feat no longer gain incorporeal. You get ghostly and +2 speed. I still think that's fantastic. You don't have the defensive
really
component.
Good.
That's scary.
It's really good. So it used to be +2 speed and incorporeal for Bullcroak models, but now it's +2 speed and ghostly for everything for friendly faction models. So I think that's still a net positive, a huge positive. The thing I think a lot of players who don't have a lot of experience in the Brines don't understand is they're a very fast army. Marauders are speed 6. Those big boys can move. There's the pigs are speed 6. They've got a lot of stuff that there's a benefit, I guess, to not wearing armor. So they can swarm you pretty quickly, get through your front lines and get to your caster. Okay, any final thoughts or wrap up stuff we want to talk about?
No, I think I'm pretty comfortable with this, but go ahead.
I was going to say, kind of like what you guys were talking about earlier, you should have a game plan for Dusk, Winter Core, and Brines. Out of okay, I know, in my opinion, I think the top ones you're going to see the most of, and that are going to be pretty dominant, in my opinion, from hearing all the changes and looking over stuff, is Dusk, Khador, Brines, and then Orgoth. That is my personal opinion. I just wanted, again, as a newer player, that's just no facts or anything, but I wanted your all's opinion about where you guys stand on that and what you think to watch out for the most, or where you think like what's going to be higher position in the meta.
My gut says that Storm Legion might be a little bit above Brines, but aside from that, I largely agree with you. I think Dusk
Yeah.
and Kador are the obvious standouts.
I think I'll answer that too. I don't think that's wrong. I think you could probably mix those up a little bit in any number of orders, but I think that's probably right. But I think what I think is going to be really interesting this year is I think we're going to, not just because there's more factions coming out. I mean, we got Pharaoh coming out as we speak, Crucible Guard coming out as we speak. We know Infernals are up next as another old army coming back to 3D printers near you. Kithcard release imminently. But even putting all that stuff to the side for a minute, I honestly do think as we go into tournaments, SteamWorld 2026 tournaments and beyond, you're going to see more faction diversity. I think there's a lot of people who probably bought into Orgoth and it was a stale playstyle, and they moved on to something else that seemed a little more dynamic and a little interesting. They may come back and be like, hey, now we've got some options. The same may be true for, any number of factions. And I think that's really the sign of a healthy game. I feel that by and large, all the factions feel, even though some nerfs were big, some glow ups were big, I think for the most part, there's probably 2 to 4 viable, good tournament capable lists in every faction. Even, and I think you're gonna see with the, I'm not the person to originate this. I've heard this from other people, but with the Mats and Rats coming down, I think you're gonna probably see some more legacy armies coming out of the woodwork, because I think a common complaint about a lot of people who are still interested in playing old Minoth or old Kador, 5th Border Legion, or, different stuff like that, where like, we just can't compete with the new Mats and Rats. All our stuff is 5s and 6s and everything is 7 and 8s now. Well, that's not the case anymore. So I think we'll start to see some of the old stuff come back. People who've had that Mark II or Mark III army in their closet are going to dig that stuff out. And I think there's stuff to mine there that looks really interesting. So I'm excited that the field is going to be more diverse than it ever was before. In Mark 4 times at least.
I'll be
As a
honest.
newer-
After seeing a lot of the Mats and Rat drops, I've taken a look at Dark Host for Cryx, because I used to love my thralls. Bane Knights and Bane Thralls. They used to be a big thing for me. I don't think they're too insane, but it'd be nice to maybe put on the table every once in a while just for a palette cleanser.
Yep.
Now I've already got them and they're already painted and they're there.
Yep.
Those thralls are painted.
But they don't get the +2 mat.
You're right. That's only for Mechanic Thrall Swarms.
My final thought is, Anthony, I'd like to agree with you, like what you just said, like, it's a sign of a healthy game. Like, coming from other games, starting out and playing wargaming, I will say that Warmachine has been by and far the most healthy and honestly, like, intoxicating experience that I've had into it, because from the moment I had like the right faction, the right game in my hand, like I couldn't stop browsing Steamforged. I couldn't stop thinking of lists. I cannot tell you how excited I am for Wednesday. Like, and especially with this update and stuff, all it did is just reinvigorate like my love and passion for the game, especially being like a new player. And I think that is by and large something you don't see a lot of. And coming from like trading card games and things like that, like it feels genuinely like loved and cared for, and I'm really excited to play and like get more experience under my belt.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Not every war game. I'm sure Steamforged won't get everything right every time. We don't want to lionize them and say that they can do no wrong. But I think what is very apparent in these changes and in the way that they interact with us as a community, whether we're content creators, whether we're tournament players, whether we're just people who really enjoy painting the models, has really been a refreshing change from sort of the capitalistic corporate interactions that a lot of gaming companies have with their players. So what a great thing, in a hobby to be in a partnership with the people making the game.
I'd like to add on to that. It's really good to feel that, and then the whole they're not ever gonna do no wrong. The co-owners, when we talk to them, we're very much like, we're gonna make mistakes, but we're gonna admit that we made mistakes and we're gonna fix it because we play this game. We want it to keep playing well, and that being able to put a name and a face to those people who are running the company and doing those things is really, really nice. And I don't want to use Games Workshop as an example. It's the only one that comes to mind right now. I couldn't tell you anybody there that works anymore, or any of those people. And I played that game for I don't know how long. So,
yep. Well, I cannot overestimate my excitement.
Yeah, I'm really raring and ready to go. It drops Wednesday, and then our gameplay is our normal game. Our solid gameplay day is Thursday, so we're all gonna get together and we're gonna smash our heads against each other and make some things happen. I'm excited. It's gonna be great.
All right. Well, I know we've been at this for quite some time. There was a lot to cover, but we probably want to go ahead and wrap this up.
Yep.
I just want to say thanks to everybody who's stuck through this, what I'm sure will be a fairly long episode. We love getting together and talking, so we figured why not just record it. So appreciate everybody. If you like this kind of stuff, hit that subscribe, hit the follow, ring the bell to make sure you get the notifications. We've got a great Discord community of folks. We're going to be starting to get like a dedicated war table night coming up soon for folks who want to get some games in. So come and engage with us there if you want to. The link will be in the description. And just from all of us here at Collateral Damage, we appreciate you and looking forward to hopefully playing some games with y'all in 2026.
Let's go. You all have a fantastic night.
See ya.
See you guys.
See ya.